In actuality, there are many points in between those two ends. So a person who's pansexual would potentially be attracted to someone anywhere along that range. There is a lot of gray area between male and female.
Wait, so are you saying, okay. So you say anything between that range?
Well, so for me hold on.
Okay.
So for me personally, that is to say that my attractions have nothing to do with gender or with what parts a person may have or how a person identifies regarding gender.
So if you dated a transgender person,
We get, Can we warm up into it? Like,
well,
I'm interested.
Well, so what's going to probably show up a lot in this conversation is the fact that EJ and I know each other and we've had plenty of conversations. So we're kind of picking up where we left off. So I will try to remember that the audience hasn't been there for all of our conversations.
Hey, I'm taking notes and I'm looking up pansexual right now on Wikipedia, say gender blind, not necessarily someone that loves. It's not a definite preference of sexuality as far as male or female, but it's, like you said, kind of going with your flow. Is it a little platonic at times?
Well, I do have platonic relationships, but I would not bring them up in this context. This is specifically referring to my romantic and sexual attractions.
Okay. So what are your pronouns?
My pronouns are she, her.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay, so
those are my pronouns, but I am cisgender.
Okay.
Pansexual.
Yeah, that's what.
So you got another cisgender here. Okay.
That's what I look. Okay, so my girlfriend, she told me that I'm cisgender. Let me make sure. Because I said this on a couple of episodes, but I'm still okay. So I'm cisgender, hetero-romantic, right? Heterosapio-sexual.
Yep.
Man,
I would see that being accurate.
So you would agree?
Right.
Like I'm a sapiosexual. Yeah, I am.
Well, I've never met your girlfriend, but with her having, given you that much direction, I can gather that she's quite intelligent. So you probably are sapiosexual. And what that means is that you are attracted to a person's intellect or that a person needs to have, to stimulate you intellectually in order to stimulate you.
Absolutely. Yeah, Nana.
So what am I?
That's all I want to hear.
From what, and you would know better than I. But in the limited amount of exposure that I've had to you, you appear to be cisgender. I've gathered that you are heterosexual or hetero-romantic. Yes.
Just to put that out there once again, I love women.
So noted.
And only women.
And that's fine. Yeah.
All right, so
that's good.
Oh, and I'm sure you would prefer the terms he or him.
Oh yeah, who, me or Nana?
Both of you.
Oh yeah, he, him, his.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait, so you don't use they?
I do not use they for myself. No.
Yo, let's get into the shit. Nana, you said, last episode you said you were transphobic. Let's just get right to it, bro. Okay. All right, so... All right, man. So I asked...
So I'm sweating bullets in here.
The first part of the episode...
Yeah.
Well, first, going back to last episode, Nana said some problematic shit, which is what we do.
Yeah.
All right. And I just had to ask, because a lot of people were wondering if Nana was transphobic. So we asked him, and... my fucking co-host said that he is transgendered. I mean, transphobic. Transphobic. All right. So
now.
I asked you, what do you mean when you say that? Because I tried to give you a rope, thinking you go, maybe he's not what he thinks of me, but you end up hanging yourself with it. But can you explain to Alexandra, like, why do you?
And once again, I went off the definition of Wiki, which I don't know if it's necessarily accurate.
Okay.
The transphobic, which was transphobia, is a range of negative attitudes or feelings, action towards transgender or transsexual people. It can be emotional, disgusted, fear, violence, anger, or discomfort felt or expressed to those who do not conform with society's gender expectation.
Now, bro, fuck Wikipedia. I think it's important that we know your definition.
That's why I want to make sure where I'm coming from is not necessary that I have a negative attitude towards them or wish any ill will towards
It sounds
them.
like you're more on the discomfort end.
Exactly. It's just, I'm not as comfortable because I'm not as exposed to them.
Right.
So it's relatively new to me. And once again, this is again not necessarily gay people, but transgender people. Transsexuality. I don't get it.
Right.
I was born in a more conventional setting where there's a mom and dad or a men and women that they, love each other. And, your sex preference is what your gender, you identify with the gender that you were born with. Now, my question, I'm not sure if you have the answer, but is there anybody, do you think people are born gay or made gay?
I know that we are born with our sexual preference. We may not recognize it early, but it's certainly not something that anyone can make us be, and it's definitely not something we choose.
I kind of disagree with that because there's certain people that choose to be gay. They'd be like, there's been experiments like in college with some women. They'll be like, you know what? I'm tired of men. Let me go ahead and experiment with women and see how I like that.
Well, engaging in behavior does not necessarily mean that behavior is inherent within you.
Are you talking about like gay for pay? You heard that term?
I've heard that, or sometimes people may it may be a ploy for attention, or it may just be like you said, experimenting. But if a person, first of all, sexuality is fluid. Period. Like,
is it?
It is, and that it doesn't only mean the gender that one is attracted to, but for example, when you were young, you may have preferred slim, a slimmer woman, and then you got older and you realized, oh, wait a minute, curvy women got some things going too. So you're
That's
not
based on physical appearance.
But even with that, the things that you find appealing changed over time.
But the common denominator is they're all female.
In that, for you, yes, but that's not the case with everybody.
No, but I'm saying. So, going back to gender fluidity.
Well, are you talking about gender fluidity or attraction fluidity? Because those are different things.
Attraction is definitely fluid. I'm not questioning that.
Right.
But more so, I think gender fluidity only applies to women, or maybe it's only accepted for women.
That it is typically more acceptable when women are gender.
But let me go back, NaNa. You say you didn't know what gay for pay was.
No.
All right, so in porn, there's a lot of, I'm sure it happens in real life, but I'm thinking from a porn aspect. In porn, you have dudes who will fuck other guys on camera, but then claim that I'm not really gay. I just do it for the money. I just fuck dudes on camera. I suck dick for money, but I'm not really gay. And a lot of these dudes, they will actually be in relationships with women, but they will fuck guys on camera and say they're not gay.
That's crazy.
Well, or another example, a lot of women who may dance at gentlemen's clubs are lesbians. They're getting paid.
But dancing at a club doesn't really, that has nothing to do with your sexuality, though.
Well, but think about...
I can get my magic mic on. It's just like shit.
Well, yes, but would you be able to give convincing lap dances and all of that?
Fuck no.
Well, there you go. It's part of playing, the role for pay, which is,
That was a red flag.
What?
You get your magic mic on.
Man, so tell me, NaNa, would you think it's gay, all right, if you worked at a gay club and you
Hell
dance?
yeah.
I wouldn't say that, bro.
Hell yeah.
I disagree, bro. Okay, so
I like to assert my masculinity.
You don't believe in being able to pay your bills. And also, there are lots of men who like masculine men.
Gay niggas tip better, bro. From what I've seen.
I don't.
Yeah. Gay niggas tip better, bro.
I guess I'm transphobic.
But we're not even talking about trans.
I knew she was going to say it.
Yeah, I can't. I like to assert my masculinity. I love it. I love being around women. Okay. And I don't like to be around men that think I'm attractive.
Well, let me just say this. You know how uncomfortable you feel right now about having to explain your sexuality?
That was a comfortable laugh.
Imagine having that all day, every day.
Okay.
Boom.
Yeah.
You say
okay.
But you made
a point. Okay, she made a point. But is it always necessary to what's it called? To expose your sexuality?
No, it's not. Because what I do when I'm not at work, for example, that's none of my coworkers' business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What I do, just period.
Yeah.
My romantic relationships are not anybody's concern unless I bring it up. But I shouldn't, at the same time, I shouldn't feel like I have to refrain from talking about my love life if everyone else is talking about their love lives.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So I gotcha.
So NaNa, okay, so going back to you and the whole transphobia thing, I'm kind of tired of how people, I feel like we use those terms too loosely. Like, I feel like a lot of people is just quick to call somebody transphobic or homophobic. Just emotionally charged because you say something that they didn't like. For instance, NaNa, based off of what you said, okay, today, you said that you're uncomfortable around transphobic people. Now,
transgender.
What did I say? So transgendered people. Thank you. Transgendered people, right? But I don't think that makes you transphobic, because let's go into the definition of phobia.
Well, the definition that he looked at, discomfort, was a word in there.
Yeah. But when I'm saying but I disagree with that because think about it this way, like it comes down to prejudice. Okay, prejudice versus preference.
Right.
Okay, prejudice versus preference. Okay, just because I grew like a lot of black people grew up around mostly black folks all their life. But what happens with them when they have to attend a network meeting, after job, and they're the only black person there? A lot of people in that situation would feel out of their comfort zone, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But that don't mean that they're prejudiced against the white people in the room, but they're out of their element. I don't think you should be given a label such as homophobia, saying you have this irrational fear or disgust or towards a certain group just because you're out of your element.
But this was based on the definition.
Feeling like a fish out of water is different from feeling like a discomfort or a disgust or, a lot of the other terms that were in the definition that you saw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the difference in that example, which, by the way, I grew up the opposite. I wasn't around a lot of black people when I was growing up.
Me too. So
by the way, audience, she is black.
I am.
Oh yeah, you can't tell that neo soul vibe, hey, earthy vibe. This is a queen that we talking to right now.
Queen.
All right.
And if you don't mind, can I get your number after the show? Maybe I can persuade you to come the other way.
So is that going to be your signature?
But no, okay. So what we were talking about as far as these labels, like I don't agree with that definition. I don't think. Because for real, the technical term for definition of a phobia is an irrational fear of some kind. Now, that usually isn't the definition when people use the terms trans or homophobic. But if you say germaphobe, then it means you have an irrational fear of germs. But it doesn't quite work the same way. But I'm like, there's a difference. There needs to be a fine line between preference and prejudice.
Well, with fear being part of the definition of phobia, you also want to keep in mind that people act irrationally out of fear, or people fear what they don't understand. And so it's like a ladder. You don't understand something, so then you fear it, and then you may potentially engage in problematic behavior.
So like NaNa, for instance, if NaNa goes to this mixer, all right, this networking function, and it seems to be predominantly trans and a few and other LBGT members.
LGBT.
LG. That's what I said, right?
You said LBGT. That's what you...
Wait, it's not LBGT?
No, it's LGBT.
Oh, okay. LG.
And does it have to be in that order?
That's the typical way that it's said. And actually,
can we?
If you're ready to have your minds blown, it's expanded.
I know it's expanded. That's why I usually follow
LGBTQI is the last that I heard.
I thought there's more than that.
Q is for questioning.
I thought it was queer.
Or it could be queer. That's what, see? Definitions change all the time. And then
you can be queer and not
queer
gay.
A lot of people use queer to be all inclusive because, you can get tongue-tied when you try to include everything. So for some people, queer is a more umbrella term that includes, all of these things, where some people are very specific in how they mean it. And I mean, it's like with almost every word, there is typically an official definition, but then there's also the connotation that the user, expresses and all of that. So I couldn't speak for how another person uses it.
And I can sometimes I heard that word queer could be offensive to some people.
It can be. I mean, and part of that too is your intention when you say it. So,
but there's people that can
transgender,
BQ,
lesbian.
What's the I?
Right.
The I?
So lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. So Q, queer or questioning.
Uh-huh.
And then I.
Incomplete.
No, you know what? It might have been.
Pan and all that.
Let me double check. No, there's no P.
So pansexual could just be a straight person. They don't identify with sex they want.
Well, no, that actually would be asexual, from what I'm understanding you to be describing.
All right, now going back to so NaNa. Imagine NaNa at a social event as predominantly trans and LGBT members. NaNa being a fellow first generation African, he's not, just the way he grew up, he's not accustomed to being in that element.
Mm-hmm.
So he feels out of his comfort zone. He's a bit uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense because that's not the same as him being against them. It's not the same as him, it's not the same as him lashing out or starting conflict.
Right.
He just feels like a fish out of water. He's uncomfortable. And I'm just saying, as human beings, we naturally gravitate to people that we identify, subconsciously we feel we identify with.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you go to a business meeting. Okay, most of the time, Black people, they try to sit next to Black people at the meeting just because that's just who they identify with.
Right.
I try to stay away from them.
That's because you're an African that hates Black people.
No.
I think there's a difference.
Well, sidebar, I looked it up really quickly, and the first entry that I saw, the I is for intersex.
Intersex, okay.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, I forgot what that was.
That can be, well, let me not speak out.
Would that make NaNa transphobic, that situation that I put
Well, if it's just that he's looking around and he's seeing, people who are different from what he is accustomed to, that does not necessarily make him transphobic. But if it's where he has a volatile reaction or, says just,
hateful
speaks,
things.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which would cause in a prejudice territory.
Right.
A prejudice.
Right.
Yeah, there we go. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm not transphobic.
That's what I'm saying. I don't believe that you are based off of the definition we talked about. I don't feel like you should be labeled a phobe of any kind if just because you're uncomfortable with an element you're not used to.
Yeah.
Now, it's when you act on it in terms of a way that's hateful or, engaging in a violent way, or that's when I would call you a phobe, and even a bigot.
Yeah.
But you don't strike me as that. You're just uncomfortable because that's not what you're used to.
I just strike you as a handsome man. I guess.
What I will also point out is that, EJ, for you, you being another Black, straight, male, you're almost never going to have occasion to see him respond in that way because he's never going to respond that way to you. You would have to just happen to be with him if he were put into a situation like that and then see how he would react.
True.
Going back to intersex, it can manifest in different ways, but the general definition is that is a person who is born with a reproductive or sexual anatomy that doesn't fit the typical definitions of female or male.
How's that different from?
It's not. That's not to say that they have. Well, what were you about to say? Let me not interrupt.
How's that different? Wait. Okay, is that the they? Intersex is they?
No.
It's actually a physical.
Right.
What's in
it means
your legs.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. It could be internally, but it just means that it is not it's not instantly physically clear whether or not they would be they again born with a reproductive, that's internal, or sexual, that's external, anatomy that doesn't fit the typical definitions of female or male.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of us are thinking about this shit like
trying to think. Is that in between their legs? You're saying it's a feeling?
No. That's what I'm saying. It could be something about their ovaries.